Our guest this morning is the former strength and conditioning coach of the New York Yankees. Welcome to BronxNet, Jeff Mangold. How are you?
Bobby, good morning. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Very exciting times for you. I know that you've got a new book that's out, and I was hoping that you could tell me and the fans at home all about it.
Yeah, it's called Power and Pinstripes with my co-writer, Peter Body of the New York Post, who did a great job of assisting me in this and a lot of research on the dates and scores and so forth. And from my many years of experience with the Yankees and with the Mets in the capacity of a strength and conditioning coach, it gives me a very unique setting, both on the field, actually in the setting of being on the bench, but also the time periods that I would have one-on-one or in a group session with the players in the weight room, and airplanes, buses, you name it, just a little behind the scenes stories and shared thoughts throughout the years. But I thought it'd be an excellent opportunity of being in a unique setting to be able to share that with fans.
100%. Yeah, I mean, and so Power and Pinstripes ends up hitting the bookshelves just recently in the month of May. And as you mentioned, being strength and conditioning coach for the Yankees, two stints in the Bronx, 1984 through 1988, and then in between with the Mets from 98 through 2006. You were back with the Yankees, but in between that 4-year stint with the Mets. So for the younger fans, the team won 9 straight division titles under your care, and that includes 5 World Series appearances and winning 3 championships. Aside from the winning, what was the biggest difference between the two stints in the Bronx?
The difference between my first tenure and the second would be the facilities that were available, especially when we would travel on the road to the various ballparks. During the 80s, we were utilizing storerooms, utilizing makeshift facilities to train and to work out versus the state-of-the-art facilities that are now in place.
The book really dives into a wide spectrum of personalities. I mean, just the managers alone that you were there for, from Joe Torre to Lou Piniella and Billy Martin among them. What was the hardest part of trying to capture those personalities accurately, especially after so much time has passed?
It comes to a matter of them trusting you and to accept you. And I've learned throughout the years that, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. And that's for a reason, to be a good listener and to slowly utilize your personality that you have or that I have, and to slowly let the players come to me. On the onset, I would mention to them, listen, I'm here for your assistance, but to assist you in any capacity, whether I like to see the programs that you've done utilized in the past, whether that be Mike Messina or Jason Giambi or Alex Rodriguez, coming from different ball clubs, and not to try to just dominate them and say, this is what we're going to do, but just to slowly watch them work. And then in due time to interact a little bit, where they'll go, Jeff, what do you think what do you think I might be able to add here or subtract a little bit,
And I know that you don't work for the team anymore, but you talk about kind of having that trust and that relationship. But were you worried about sharing these behind the scenes stories, even if it is now after the fact that you don't work for the Yankees anymore?
I think it's enlightening, if anything. And there's nothing that is really going to throw somebody under the bus. But if they feel that way, that's fine. It's as long as it's the truth. And that's where I come from, so that everything that is in the book is the truth. And it's whether that is stated from depositions that I was involved with regarding the Roger Clemens era in that segment with Brian McNamee. And I'm just stating what I went through, what was on my plate at the time. And it offers the ability for the readers and the fans to realize somehow dealing with problems within your business or within your team.
Yeah, I mean, you also mentioned so many of the training methods that you put together for those great Yankee championship teams, and really super interesting stuff because, you look at that 1998 team, Jeff. I mean, what a special season for the Yankees, maybe the greatest ever. I mean, 125 and 50, and you were working closely with all those players that year.
I think the number one aspect of that is chemistry. it is not something that you can really try to build towards that regarding as a general manager or administrative staff with Brian Cashman's lead, but you really don't know how individuals are going to gel. But this group, it just had a chemistry where guys had fun, guys would get on each other, but in a long year, there's going to be struggles. There's going to be arguments. There's going to be people upset with each other, but the common denominator is when they crossed the lines to compete, they all knew what the goal was. That was to be the last team standing.
And I love some of the stories too. I think of so many of the postseason legends from that particular era, and some great stories about Luis Sojo. He was one of my mom's favorite players. What a postseason legend he was, and you had some great stories in the book about him.
Yeah, he knew his role, and that part of his role was to be a mentor to the Latin ball players, but also as a conduit, and to make them feel at home with the team, and just to lead by example, and that to stay ready. Louis didn't start a lot of games. He'd be plugged in there every once in a while, but the main thing is to be ready. You never know when your number is going to be called. And we had a handful of those players on that 98 team.
And it's pretty cool too how a shard from a baseball bat plays such a large story in this book.
That's true. Again, it comes down to in life, a lot of things are about timing. And as I'll read in the book, that the Roger Clemens and Mike Piazza 2000, World Series 2000 incident, somebody came up with the barrel of that bat that had it for many years. So I think the readers will find out who had it and what was done with it.
When you're speaking of legends, you're also the foreword for your book is put together by Mariano Rivera, and you explain in the book just how incredible an athlete he is and was. I think it was cool to read about the fast twitch muscles and just what an incredible player he was, Mariano Rivera. From covering the team all these years, I think about him shagging balls in the outfield. I think he easily could have been the next great Yankee center fielder.
I think he'd rather have played center than pitch. He's very gifted. God blessed him with athleticism, as we talked about, to be a very explosive athlete. And that's something you get from your parents, heredity, as far as speed and power and ability to generate force. But with Mariano, it was also his psychological makeup, that he was just so relaxed, so confident, and that he was, in his mind, he just felt that he was born to do this, and that God gave him the ability and the talent to do this. And he was so at home in the position that he would be in all the stressful situations that he would be in. It didn't bother him.
Well, Jeff, I've had the pleasure of reading the book, but I wanted to give you a chance in closing here to advocate to the fans at home why they should pick up a copy.
There's going to be stories that they've never heard before, or just the unwrapping possibly of some of the big stars and the big players, some of Alex Rodriguez, Derek Jeter, Tino Martinez, Paul O'Neill, to let the fans get to know them a little bit and to share some of their concerns throughout the season when they play. Maybe it's surprisingly, maybe a lack of confidence at certain time periods. I think our fans think that, wow, these stars, these players, these guys that are so successful, they have just an unbridled ability to maintain confidence. But many times, these guys get down on themselves, and it's the challenge to move forward. Defeat is just temporary. You've got to get back up there and fight again.
Absolutely, Jeff. Super time, and like I said, a terrific read. I appreciate you taking time with us this morning. Power and Pinstripes is available through Triumph Books and all major book retailers, including Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Thanks so much, Jeff.
Bobby, thanks for having me.